I am live once again. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to church, I guess. It's Sunday, right? But I think that's supposed to be in the morning. Right? Well, church could have been like this if there was an actual inquiry going on. But at any rate, thank you all for joining me. It's always wonderful and really gratifying to be with people, with beings who are committed to this kind of a self-inquiry, and that's what we're here for: an inquiry into the nature of yourself. And this is not a selfish activity. It's a highly unselfish activity. Okay? The ego is selfish. The heart that's open to the truth of their being is not. Getting some beeps here. I have to quit some things. There we go. The heart that opens to doing this kind of an inquiry is inherently unselfish, even though the focus is on oneself. The effect is that as you get to know yourself more, and the old version of you starts to fall away, there's less fear, there's less competition, there's more cooperation, there's less of a feeling of being threatened, which opens up the door to more sharing. You become more loving, more compassionate, because it's always the false sense of self trying to protect itself that makes us so self-absorbed and inconsiderate, and the long list of things, angry. You know, there's a fundamental tenet in non-dual inquiry which really needs to be pondered, and that is, I am the body. That's actually the second thought. The first thought is simply I am. Prior to the thought of I am, you just are. But because this, in all of us, the environment in which the body exists has to conform itself to that environment. That environment being that of your family, the culture, the whole world into which you were born. The nervous system, which is a completely blank canvas, just simply conforms itself to that environment. And in so doing, because you are conforming, right? Parts of you are acceptable, parts of you are unacceptable. This feeling arises of being separate. There's me and there's other. And in that moment, the mind jumps in to say, what am I? I am this body. And the moment that happens, you literally become identical with the body. It's functioning. And remember, the body isn't just a thing. It's a very complex set of reactions and programs and ideas and concepts. It includes the mind, the emotions, and the sensations. It isn't just the physical structure, it's the entire nervous system and its conditioning. When I decide I am the body, I automatically am also saying I am my conditioning. The characteristics of the body are my characteristics. The conditioning is my conditioning. Its destiny is my destiny. Its end is my end. This is so early on and so deeply ingrained in everyone that it never gets questioned. And this is, of course, the whole purpose of satsang, is to question that most fundamental. Because out of that emerges the fear of death and the fear of lack. The child has no fear of death. It has no fear of lack, right? There's a point at which that comes online. So if I'm not the body, then what am I? And that's the question. First, beginning to see that and becoming convinced that you're not by recognizing that every single function you experience, be it thought or emotion or sensation, which is actually all there is to experience, by the way. There's nothing outside of experience other than thought, emotion, and sensation. Everything else is speculation. But actually, just look for yourself. You will see there is nothing else is experienced. Now, every single one of those, the thoughts, emotions, and sensations, are in a constant motion. They never cease. It's one thought after another. And the thought itself has this arc, and it's very, very fast. Every emotion that comes up, some hang out longer than others, but they all leave. They all come and go. The same with every sensation you have. It all always comes and goes. Well, if it's coming and going, and you're aware of them coming and going, you must be something else. You must be essentially different than thought, emotion, and sensation. And of course, sensation is the body. That's all we ever experience. Right? You don't experience a body per se. You experience sensations, which are attributed to a body. But if I'm just watching this flow of sensations, then I'm not that. If I'm watching a river go by, I'm not the river. Well, then what am I? What is it that perceives all this change, this flux, this motion, but is itself not fluctuating, not moving? And we've all, if you ponder for a moment, you'll recognize that while the content and conditions and circumstances and events of your life have all shifted, changed, the content when you were 10 and the content when you were 20 and the content now are all different, right? But just feel into it and you'll notice that while all of those are different, there's something the same there, isn't it? Something hasn't changed. The perceiving itself hasn't changed. This is how you do a self-inquiry. You're looking for the true substance, the true being of yourself. And again, it's not a selfish activity, especially when you recognize that the entire quantity and quality of your life is a direct reflection of your sense of identity. Who you believe yourself to be is 100% the determinant of the quality of your life. It isn't about what you have, what you get, what you've accomplished, what you can do, the good experience. It's about you. It's about the one having those experiences, which is why I regard this as the most significant thing a human being can possibly do. So welcome once again, everyone, to Satsang. I just realized that I have my air purifier on. Let me turn it off here. Turn the other light around. Had to turn off some of the electronics that can make noise in the background. So welcome everyone. The floor is now open for Q&A. Let me go back here, and here's Roberto. Everyone have a wonderful springtime. Yes, it is springtime now, isn't it? It's official. That was yesterday. And play on with a question right off the bat. Hi G, thank you for your satsangs. They've helped me a lot. Question for you. When you feel fear and anxiety in your daily life, how do you handle it? Thank you again. Sending love from Sweden. Let's see. Well, fear and anxiety are two different well, not different things. The body, it's the same as far as the body is concerned, but they're different in their context. Think of fear as being the body simply getting ready to run away from danger, because that's what it is. That feeling we have of fear is the body simply shifting into flight mode because there's a threat. Now, remember, the body can't tell the difference between a threat that you're imagining and a threat that's actually real in the environment. So one way to deal with it is to simply look, slow down, feel the fear in the body, feel what that feels like. Recognize that the body wants to run away from something, and go, okay, what is it that it wants to run away from? If you look in your environment and there's nothing here threatening, then there's no real imminent threat there. And that means that the threat is in the imagination, it's in the mind. Now, anxiety is simply the projecting of danger onto the unknown. And one of the ways in which it's the most prolific in doing that is what might happen. I might lose my money. I might lose my boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. I might lose my job. Now, it hasn't happened, right? So from the point of view of actual reality and being in this present moment, there isn't any danger. It simply doesn't exist. So what anxiety is triggering the fear response from an imaginary source. And this is a tough one for a lot of people because there's some truth in it. Yes, you could lose your job. There could be some kind of event that robs a bunch of your savings or something. Your wife or husband could decide to leave you. These are all possibilities. And because they are a possibility, the mind can't completely dismiss them. And so it focuses its attention on that and then tries to figure out some way to avoid them from happening. And what that means is you are living in a constant state of anxiousness, a constant state of anticipating danger. And as long as that particular attitude, that particular way of thinking exists, you will never, ever be able to feel safe. This is also called stress. The body is in a low-level fight or flight mechanism, right? And so you don't have all of the inner resources and energy for your creative functioning, which means you're not operating on all cylinders. And on top of that, it obviously creates physical problems in the body. It can create personality distortions to your personality, subtle ones, not necessarily over the top. Right? So the first thing I always do is say, are you in danger now? And then the mind will start giving you the pictures of what could go wrong. But you simply turn away from that, say, yes, it could, but right now, there's absolutely nothing wrong. I'm in no threat whatsoever. There is no danger. So the body simply responds to the pictures it's getting. If you anchor yourself in this present moment, you will find out that 99.99% of the time, there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. But when your mind starts thinking about it, it will find all sorts of reasons to be afraid, to be on guard, to be alert, to be defended. And now we live in a media-saturated world where the strategy behind marketing is to make you feel afraid, make you feel like something's missing, like something's going to happen. Because The marketers and advertisers know that if they can incite fear in you and associate relief of fear to their product, they've got you. They're not interested in you leading a happy, fulfilled, fearless life. They want you afraid so that you can buy their stuff, their junk. So we're being bombarded constantly with messages. You should be afraid. You should be, oh my God, politicians. That's their whole thing. You should be afraid. Look at the political advertising. It's not, nobody speaks about the issues. They talk about how horrible the other person is and all the bad things they're going to do. I mean, it's just mindless dribble. But I think you can get the picture. We have to transcend the habit of imagining an unhappy future, a difficult future, a future where there's something wrong. We have to get out of the future. The fact of the matter is, if you look at your life, you look at the whole history of your life, think of all the things you thought were going to go wrong. You were really afraid they were going to go wrong. How many actually did? Almost none of them. You know, there's that adage you hear in New Age and Law of Attraction circles, fear and it will appear, right? Well, it's demonstrably not true, because most of the time the things I was afraid of never transpired. They absolutely never transpired. The vast majority. Now, isn't it interesting that if you look at your life, you have overwhelming evidence that things are going to be okay. Overwhelming. Right? And that information should be filling our imagination, that's constantly telling the nervous system, hey, it's okay, and it's going to be okay. And, you know, if anything goes wrong, we have the resources to handle it. But it's probably not going to go wrong, because that's the fact. And yet, we've all been conditioned, we have been trained to anticipate the worst. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Isn't that one of those phrases you hear? Plan for everything that could possibly go wrong. And in the U.S., they got supercomputers running 24 hours a day, mapping every possible scenario in the world. In the just most ridiculous, insane attempt to always be prepared for whatever might happen. Right? The realization that you are always prepared for whatever might happen. That's the fact. The inner resources you have available to yourself are always available, and they will come online as needed. You don't have to, sorry about the bells, I guess I should turn some things off. You don't have to plan for absolutely everything, and you can't. But what if you knew deep in your heart, because you have grown so comfortable with yourself, so accepting of yourself, so conscious of yourself, that you know that at any given moment, the resources to effectively, creatively, intelligently, and compassionately deal with that moment were readily available. Didn't have to plan in advance, didn't have to study some, martial arts to keep out of the fight or something like that. No planning required at all. That in the moment those resources were necessary, in that moment they show up. You don't need to carry around a bunch of baggage. You don't need to carry every tool, right? You only need the one in the moment. And the capacity of the human system to intelligently respond is completely liberated when you're aware of who you actually are, and you are free from the ideas about who you thought you were. Then you're like, you're like Bugs Bunny in the cartoons, where they can just pull anything out from whatever they need. It's whoop, they just pull it out from behind their back. That's you. You are the infinitely resourceful being. And you don't need to know what the resource is before you need it. So you don't have to carry around a truckload of tools. Right? We're talking about inner resources here. We're talking about the capacity to know what to do in the moment, to perfectly respond to that moment. We don't believe we do. We believe we have to gain all this knowledge and acquire all these things and have all this stuff and get all this learning and take all these courses and have all these certificates. And yet you gather all of that stuff and you still don't quite feel like you're prepared, because the mind will never feel like it's prepared. It will, because it's been trained to look for what could go wrong. And always looking for, yeah, well, I'm prepared for that, but what if this happens? That is a habit pattern of the mind that simply needs to be broken. It's a habit that simply needs to be broken. And you'll find it'll be the end of anxiety. And then, when you actually feel fear, there really will be something to be afraid of. The nervous system won't be so distorted that you can't tell the difference. And you realize that that actually puts you in danger, because you can't tell the difference between a real one and a fake one. But the reality is, the real danger almost never happens. Hopefully that explains it for you there, Playan. I guess that was kind of wordy, but there you go. Ava in Poland, hello. Roberto, no questions from me today, GP. Is that a good sign? Yes, it is, my friend. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just settle in to the reality of your being. We've just spent 7 weeks together in that training. Just keep tapping and just let it do its work. The serum has been injected into you. Just let it do its work. I've vaccinated you against ignorance, delusion, and fear. Julian Luce. Hello, Julian. Namaste, G. Thanks for the love and wisdom that you share with us. I get a lot of compliments for my body and face. People find me attractive, which makes it a bit difficult to not identify with the body. That's not really true. What can I do to overcome the identification? Yeah, you have to look at it this way. It's not difficult to overcome identification, right? You're used to getting those compliments, right? And, very, very attractive people get that, whether you be very, very handsome or very, very beautiful. There is a tendency people will defer to you, give you things, you can be treated differently, and we get kind of attached to that, right? But whether your body is beautiful or not so beautiful, it's not your body. It's just a body. It's just a functioning, right? And the fact that yours happens to be good looking, happens to be attractive, isn't even of your doing, right? It was just the roll of the dice. So it's nothing to take credit for. It's nothing to deny. Enjoy it while you have it, and also recognize it isn't going to last. Right? All sorts of things, injury, some kind of a struggle, or just age. As it's aging, it's not going to be the same. So it's a temporary thing, and to recognize that it is a temporary thing, you can enjoy it while you have it, knowing full well that it's not going to last. And the less you identify with the body, there's another part of this too. This is especially true for women who are very, very attractive. They don't get seen. That pretty, you become invisible, become an object upon which men and other women project their own fantasies. This is what objectification does. There's no longer an intimate connection with the real human being. There's too much stuff being projected on it. So, it's an uptown problem. I mean, I think most people would wish they had this problem. It's like most people think, God, I wish I had the problem of being rich. I wish I had the problem of being beautiful. And that'd be a great problem to have. But it's no remedy for the normal suffering and miseries of human life that are all created psychologically, all created by the mind. So you'll find that there's a tendency to want to rely on your looks, right? Catch yourself doing that. because they're not always going to be there. Don't always rely. We all have various kinds of gifts, and based on how our conditioning was as we were growing up, we had more or less access to some of them and others of them. And the gifts that we had that brought us the most safety, attention, love, and the like, is the one we tended to favor. And we let the other gifts that we have kind of languish, right? They remain undeveloped. Right? So you'll probably notice that you may have just simply relied on it. Right? Now, just a little bit of wisdom to go, well, yeah, I'm relying on it, but it's not always going to be there. Any number of things could happen that could change it. Right? And there's more to me than this. And I realize that simply by relying on it, I'm ignoring other aspects of myself that are equally important, actually more important, because they don't have a shelf life. Integrity, intelligence, creativity, honesty, compassion, wisdom, those don't have a shelf life. They don't wear out. They don't decay with age, they grow. So the identification with consciousness results from a simple inquiry. Whether your body is great looking or horrible looking, whether it's just the Greek god, goddess, or the malformed creature, you're not the body. It's a simple fact. The shape and form of the body, you're not that. Now just be willing to do that inquiry. Forget about what it looks like, right? From the inside, right? You don't look at your beauty, right? Yeah, you look in the mirror, but how many times a day, how often are you looking in the mirror? Other people are looking at it. Your experience is really quite neutral, right? All you're experiencing is the way people treat you. So just fall inside into that place where you experience simply thought, emotion, and sensation. Don't be concerned with the content of the thought, the content of the emotion, or the content of the sensation. Right? We're not interested in what's going on with the thought, the emotions, and sensations. Only that they are happening and they're being watched by something else. Let your attention become so interested in that something else, which is who am I, right? That the actual nature of the experience grows increasingly unimportant. And then you will find the balance. You'll be able to enjoy beauty while you have it, and you'll be able to enjoy whatever comes next after it begins to fade, which it will. It's supposed to, right? The whole process of aging is the process of bringing you to let go, to this place of truly letting go. Life is to be enjoyed but let go of. If we try to hold on to a high, to a peak experience, you find you can't, right? Hey, let's keep the party going. There's a time when the party's over, right? You have to let it go. Maybe there'll be another one, maybe there won't. But this is the whole point. The reason why looks fade, the physical attributes and all fade, is to remind you to let go. And to remind you of the significance of discovering as early in life as possible that which does not fade, that which doesn't come and go. That's what this self-inquiry is all about. Find the you that is not coming and going, and you'll find that which is ageless, and it is not the body. Beautiful question, Julian. Beautiful question. Thank you for sharing that with me. David Elaine in southeast England. Oh, which reminds me, let me put this banner up. My retreat is going to start this week on Friday. Um, it's 3 days basically of satsang meditation, Q&A, and but unlike this satsang, we'll be on Zoom. We can actually have a conversation. I can interact. I can probe you a little bit more, so I really can get to the heart of the question. And I'm inviting people to try to make it into a retreat weekend, where it's online, so I can't get you all. I can't keep you all prisoners in a room and make you focus your attention. We'll be at home, but it will be. But I invite everyone to make it as much of a retreat atmosphere at home as you possibly can. I will be. So, and of course, I recognize you're at home. There'll be more distractions than if you're, if we're off in some retreat center or the like. But nonetheless, I invite you to do that. It's very inexpensive. It's only $100 Canadian, which is like $80 US. 60 something euros and like 58 pounds. And I'm splitting all the proceeds with the Krishnamurti Education Center of Canada, who is sponsoring it. So at least in the United States, it's actually a donation. It's a tax deductible donation. And I'm helping them keep afloat because it's a great, great place. Krishnamurti was one of the giants of the 20th century. And so, and it'll be great to really devote 3 full days to this. And then at the end of it, on Sunday, I will be doing satsang. So I'll be here for satsang next week. The timing will be crazy, don't forget, because the time will change between Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So anyway, I really hope you'll all come and join me. As I said, it's very reasonable, and every time we've done this, the results have been pretty spectacular. People have really deepened their understanding of themselves. It's dedicated to this self-inquiry. I've named it From Delusion to Awakening, but because that's really what we're doing. But the delusion is simply believing yourself to be somebody you're not. And self-inquiry breaks the delusion, and you discover who you really are, the true I am, the true self. So I'm going to leave that up there for you to check it out. There's more information on that site, and you'll be registering at the Krishnamurti Center. Their website. It's all going through them. So hello, John in Ireland, Rosario in Madrid, John Watson in Scotland, Dale. Hello, Dale. Good to see you. Merkgoff, hi GP. This abstract time thing confusion is actually good for something, at least. For 2 weeks, more of us Europeans who work early mornings have a chance to actually join you live. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, great. Fantastic. Yeah, the whole time thing is just kind of wacky. So I'm glad you're here. Red Rose, hello, Sonia. Thanks for being with us today. Marguerite, hello from France, GP, and fellow satsangers. Wonderful. Lily Oracle, hello, Lily. Yay, satsang machi, sending love. Oh, so good to see you. So good to see you. Chuck Ash, hello, Chuck. My mind keeps telling me this is all a dream and will disappear when the body-mind is no longer. Your thoughts? If what you're talking about is when the body-mind is gone because of death, that's only a temporary state. It will re-arise. To truly be free of the body-mind, you have to recognize that you as consciousness are not, never have been, and never will be the body-mind. That is, it's not an object. It has no external existence. It is part of the dream, right? But the body-mind are in the dream, right? As long as the belief in the dreamer remains, the body-mind will simply keep producing itself. As it is now, right? You don't have the same body that you did 10 years ago, or certainly when you were born. So that creative energy is constantly replenishing and recreating a body-mind. When this one completely falls away, Right? There'll be a space where there'll be a recognition of, of emptiness. But unless there has been a proper preparation, the urge to become somebody will continue to reassert itself, because that's the underlying energy that goes from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And it will just create another body. There will even be, at first, there'll be a relief. All the problems, all the issues, all the stuff of this life, gone. It'll be this enormous relief. But then there'll be a fear, because there's still a sense of being an individual entity, and there'll be a sense of being afraid, a sense of being lonely. So there's still the seed. In Sanskrit, they call it the vasanas. And the vasanas are not just the conditioning of a lifetime. It is the seed of the sense of a separate self that manifests itself in every lifetime. Those seeds need to be burned away so they can't germinate anymore. And the burning away of them is satsang. It is this self-inquiry. So just the mere death of the body is not going to have any effect. It has no more effect on the underlying structure that puberty did. Obviously, the experience is quite different, but going through puberty didn't make you enlightened. Exactly the opposite, a complete refocusing of energy. But there was nothing inherent in any shift of the body-mind that brings you closer to who you are. Only the inquiry can do that. Only satsang, which is inquiry, can do that. So you're absolutely right. It is a dream. The body-mind is a dream. Right? Now, who's the dreamer? When the dream ends, who wakes up? That's the question. It isn't enough for the body-mind just to fall away if there's still a sense of a personal me. It may be a bigger personal me. It may feel more expansive. It may be a divine diva-like me, but there's still a sense of a personal me. That is, there's still an identification with perceivable attributes. Consciousness is not a perceivable. It is defined by no attributes. All the attributes that arise in it are modulations of it, none of which defines it, none of which limits it. So the experience of a body-mind in any form, right, is something perceived by consciousness. It is a modulation or vibration of the substance of consciousness. But but in that sense, it is not real. That is, it is not objective. It is only a phase, a moment of consciousness, and has no objective reality to it. Find yourself as consciousness. The consciousness that has absolutely no attributes whatsoever. Again, I use my analogy of music and the song. Music, separate from the song, has no attributes whatsoever. It is the potential for all music. And yet, without that existing, there couldn't be any music. Right? So music, which is without any characteristics whatsoever, manifests itself in the various songs, but is never limited by them. It's not limited to one particular instrument or one particular style or one particular, it doesn't have to be rock or a polka or a symphony. All of those are music, and yet none of them are music. They are the expression of music, the vibration of music. Consciousness is like that. In and of itself, as the absolute consciousness, it is the unknowable Tao. In its aspect of self-expression, or its dynamism, it's known as the universe, the world, worlds upon worlds. Every being, every object, absolutely everything is consciousness. Right? This is the mystery of non-duality and the problem with words. Well, if it's all consciousness, then consciousness is that thing. you can see it's not quite like that. The thing has no self-existence. So in its essence, no matter what you're talking about, it's consciousness. This is the question you need to probe, to find that I am that. That consciousness known is simply me knowing me. The knowingness itself. And hopefully I didn't go by everybody with that one. Thank you, Chuck. Hopefully that helps. Hello, Facebook user. Hello, hello. If you, at the top where you're watching this on Facebook, there's a link on StreamYard that will give StreamYard permission. That's the broadcast studio I'm using, to use your name. Facebook has to give permission. So unless you want to stay anonymous, in which case that's fine. Hello, Mary Sykes. Septuz, hype. Okay. Bernadette, hello, Bernadette. Good to see you. Good afternoon to you. Brian in Virginia, coastal Virginia. Christine Kroll, hello, Christine. Kiran, good to have you. Jay, I just came over for Muji's latest live satsang. Very good. I didn't know he's having one this morning. I'm usually up on that. Robbie in Romania. Hello, Robbie. Renee in Philadelphia. Hello, Renee. Jay says, sorry, not live now. Right. Anna G. Hello, Anna. Love to GP and all from Canada and Vancouver, British Columbia. My second time attending satsang. I found you by accident last Sunday and I've not been able to stop listening to you. Yes, wonderful accidents. Isn't it wonderful, just accidents? And enlightenment is an accident, and satsang makes you just more accident prone. Michelle Marie, if you're in need of another speaker, ready to step forward. Okay. Nice to have you, Michelle. You must be a speaker and are ready to step forward. Fantastic. Barbara, hello from Sweden. Hello to you. Renee, does having to concentrate to be present with people so I could provide unconditional love mean I have lack? No, not at all. You don't have lack, right? We believe in lack. Nobody's lacking, right? Lack is an illusion that we have come to believe, right? It's not actually true. But the power of consciousness is such that whatever belief is solidified, whatever you believe to be true becomes your lived experience. It shapes perception. We think it's a condition that exists independently of me, but in fact, consciousness has produced it. Right? So, if you have to concentrate with people to be, so I could provide unconditional love, does having to concentrate to be present? No, it doesn't mean that at all. In fact, the desire to concentrate better in order to be more present is unconditional love, isn't it? It's what's motivating it. So it's there all the time. So there's never a lack of unconditional love. It's your nature. You can't lack it, right? It's not learned. It's not acquired. It's your actual nature, right? Right? It's inherent in you. Right? So it's not something you need to get. Right? That's the first thing to understand. Now, what appears to get in the way of it is simply our minds, which have been trained to jump around, to bounce all over the place. We've simply been trained to be distracted. And look around. We live in an unprecedented time of distraction. Everything, vying for our attention. So first off, just notice that your desire to be more present with folks and provide unconditional love is unconditional love. So the very fact that you want to do it, even if it appears as though you do it badly, the essential message of unconditional love gets through. And sometimes we do have to concentrate. sometimes we do get very distracted. I know I used to, right? I don't anymore. The mind has gotten relatively quiet in that way. Right? But there was a time when I'm jumping all over the place, and I'd be present with somebody, but I'm thinking about something else, or thinking what I could get from them, or I wasn't truly present, right? And just even the desire to become present is coming from the most loving place inside of you. It's coming from the truth of your heart. It's coming from your deepest desire. It's coming from recognition that the absence of presence is not contributing anything, and that presence is power. So, no, you don't have any lack, right? You have, and there's certainly no lack of awareness, right? Now, if you didn't pay any attention to it, and you were so just distracted that it didn't even matter to you, in that level of unconsciousness, there would appear to be a lack of consciousness about it. But the very fact that you are looking at it, can see it happening, means that you're conscious, and nothing is lacking at all. And that awareness of it, that seeing of it, will guide you out of the old habit of distraction and the lack of presence, into a deeper place of focus of attention and presence. And then you and others will feel more of the unconditional love that's already there. Right? And there's no limit to how much there is, but you're simply becoming increasingly aware of it. And it's a really big difference thinking that I've got to be some way to be unconditional loving, than thinking I am unconditional love, and all I'm doing is clearing away all the ways in which I've said I wasn't, and all the ways I was not allowing that to express itself. So can you see it's a very different place from which one lives. You are unconditional love. That is what you are. You couldn't not be that if you tried. Even the person who's the most distracted, the one who's never present, we all probably know people we're talking to, and they're not there. They're thinking about somebody else. Or you can always feel like, the used car salesman, right? They're saying all the right things, but they're not the least bit concerned with you. They're just trying to get your wallet, right? And you can feel that energy, right? And unfortunately we've all been there. So it will be felt. Even people like that, though, the unconditional love is still there. It's just buried. It's so thick with the false sense of self that there's very little awareness of it. And of course, there's in that state of mind, there's nothing but fear and self-concern, and there's just a self-absorption there. But I mean, unconditional love is the nature of all being. Period. Whether it's seen, obvious, right, perfectly expressed and felt, or if it's completely buried, you can bury it, you can obscure it, but you cannot change what you are. And what you are is unlimited wisdom and unconditional love. So, thank you, Renee. Patricia, so much love from rainy Vancouver, TG. All inquirers and lovers gathered here today. Thank you, Patricia. Merck, what can you say about music? I've always been drawn to it. It's like it's touching us somewhere concepts and language can't reach. Like a more experiential, direct language, if you will. Yes, that's why I've been a musician all my life. I felt that early on. It can bypass the mind and go right into the body. It's very earthy. It's very direct. We were humming probably before we could speak, right? We were always making sounds and communicating through sounds, but it's a different kind of communication. It's universal. You can hear music from any culture and immediately get it, right? Immediately feel the impact of it. Yes, we're all drawn to it because it's in our bodies. I mean, you lay down a nice groove, play some some group from Stevie Wonder or something, right? And a 2-year-old will start to dance, right? Boom! It just. I mean, it is a manifestation of that rhythm of life. So, it's. I love it. I have my tongue drum over there. Marguerite, my friend is dying of cancer. She does not want any morphine. That makes her dazed. Her euthanasia, not natural. What are your thoughts about these things, GP? What would you do if you were so ill? Oh, Merck says, found it to be both a great relief when I find myself getting caught up in mental abstractions. Also more like a pure source of satisfaction somehow. That's really very good, yes. Music has been used for that forever. Music and meditation. Chanting, right, which is a form of music, is a very powerful, a very powerful meditation, because it basically calms the mind, right? And music actually affects a different part of the mind. Neurologically, it affects a different part of the brain. So you're right on the money with that. So Marguerite, friend is dying of cancer, doesn't want any morphine, which makes her kind of dazed out. I certainly understand that. And she doesn't want euthanasia, not natural. What are your thoughts about these things, GP? What would you do if you were so ill? Well, I don't know what I would do if I was so ill. I don't like to speculate about those things because it would be purely theoretical. I'd say, hey, no problem. I would just endure until the moment came. But then again, I might be crying like a little kid, right? Give me that morphine, right? I don't know. And I wouldn't want to speculate on that. Especially, being a teacher, I said, well, this is what I would do. Then everybody thinks that's what you're supposed to do, right? and that's not the case. That's never the case. It's always going to be a thing for an individual. And remember, you're sitting on the sidelines, watching her suffer, trying to figure out how best to support her, right? You can't make these decisions for her, so all you can do is be with her. All you can do is be the friend, the compassionate friend. And compassion is just something that's willing to be present even when there's nothing it can do. Just your presence. And believe me, that's powerful. So everybody makes the decisions they make based on their conditioning, their beliefs, all of that. All experience is temporary. As difficult as it is, and as painful, and as protracted as it might be, it is temporary. And whatever her experience is, it is leading her to eventually to a higher sense of herself. That's all the experience we all have. Is always life providing us the ideal events and circumstances that will lead us to let go of the false sense of self and reach fully for the true. So just being present with her, honoring her decisions, making her feel honored, assisting her in any way that you possibly can, providing any relief that she'll allow you to provide her, is what you need to do. Right? That's just be the loving, compassionate friend. The other thing you can do, which is a little bit more internal, is make sure that the image you're holding of her is not of a sick or a dying friend. Consciousness can never die. The body's going through what the body is going through, but she is completely untouched by it. There's no birth or death for consciousness, for the self. And so, keeping in mind, in your mind, who she really is, will eliminate you participating in the illness. Because the reality is, all illness is in the mind. All problems are in the mind. All pain is in the mind. There isn't actually anything in the body. Now, this is always where I have to give the disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I can't talk. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not nothing. None of those things. I'm a spiritual teacher. So it is my opinion and my observation. It is all consciousness. Nothing exists outside of consciousness. It is our belief in illness that we experience, and never an actual objectively existing illness. I'll give that for you to ponder, not to give to her. It's not information. It's something to take into ourselves. When we are confronted with somebody who's ill, we can think of them as they've got a problem with their body. What can we do about it? Or it's a mind-body thing, so they're creating the illness, but there's another position you can take. And that is, I am being invited to believe in the reality of a sick being. I reject it. There are no sick beings. There is only the fullness of consciousness. And so that is an illusion of the mind. Like everything else the mind produces. It is in the dream. And nothing in the dream is a reality. Only the dreamer is the reality. And the dreamer is waking up. Hopefully that helps you, Marguerite. Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Just skipped ahead there. Thing jumped. Where'd you go? Hey, GP, why does the falling away feel so scary? A very deep level feels like it's falling away now or dying. Is it actually dying? There's a sadness, too, that I've lived nearly 50 years of my life not actually being me at all. A waste somehow. You know, it's a popular thing. You hear that in pop spirituality and ego death and that sort of thing. But let's just look at it really closely without trying to be too conceptual about it. Right? When there's a big shift in how I look at myself, right? I have a beautiful insight, right? In any way, whether it's satsang or I'm on a retreat or something, so I get this insight, right? That I see the error of my ways, as it were. I see the flaw in the thinking that I've been going along with so clearly that I immediately begin to internalize it. But now, these patterns of thought, especially the pattern of what we have identified with, it's not just a thought, right? That thought has organized all of the resources of the body mind. So the emotions are reacting according to the old model of who you thought you were. The sensations are being interpreted. The experiences are. The people you're with, the choices you made, have all been because of who you thought you are. And if that begins to shift, this isn't immediately going to go, whoop, right? It's going to still be grinding along, right? And something inside is going to feel like, what's going on? It can be disorienting. It can be confusing, right? Because suddenly you've been telling the body, go there, go this, do this. And then all of a sudden you want to say, oh, I was wrong. Do this, and this. If the insight is a deeply spiritual one, you have taken a brick out of the wall of the egoic mind, which is that false sense of identity. That false sense of identity, you've been acting it out. And remember, the ego is a creation of the nervous system. It is a creation of the sense of the safety mechanism. So when you begin to shift the sense of identity, the nervous system will detect this as a danger. That's what it means by it feels like something's dying. My God, I'm in danger. Something is dying. I'm going to die now. right? You're not, of course. Right? This is one of the big illusions that the entire mechanism suffers from, that somehow a switch in the ego is actually a physical threat when it isn't. It's a shift in identity. And the more we are identified with the true sense of self and the less with the false sense of self, the easier the process becomes. And because you know perfectly well there's going to be resistance in this, there's going to be upheaval in the system, and that's okay. You allow that to be there. There's nothing wrong with it. This is what's supposed to happen. You are right on track. So you simply continue to feed and cherish the depth of seeing that has come to you. And sadness can come too, yes, because we do. Our whole life is determined by the sense of who we are. And so, yes, at a certain point in your life, you realize, my God, I never was that. Right? And remember, your career choices were made based on that sense of identity, your relationship choices, your entertainment choices, your clothes, your food, everything, your friends, everything was a result of that. And all of a sudden, my God, I'm not that. And you realize, well, no wonder I've not really been satisfied. And at the same time you go, my God, look what I lost. And that's simply a moment of grief. You have to grieve that moment of loss because, yeah, you did. It's a fact. But the realization of that, right, makes the wisdom of the seeing sink in so deeply that you won't lose anything more. And as it says in the Bible, I will restore the years the locust has eaten. Believe me, the rewards of the seeing will completely blot out whatever you felt you lost, because what you've gained is the celestial gem. And in this gaining, it can never, ever, ever again be lost. And yes, 50 years of your life may have been lost, but there's an eternity waiting that way. Beautiful. Facebook user, whatever your name is. Shouldn't think that much about it. Well, Merc, your message got split up, so this is part of the other message. Maybe we shouldn't think that much about it and everything actually experienced. No, it's okay to think about it. It's okay to understand. The jacket is lovely, Lily. Oracle, glad to see you. Glad to see you too, Lily. You like the jacket. Thank you. I picked out a few things. The airport is like thoughts. You never know how sweet the silence is if you never experience the contrast. It's true. Snazalia, hello, hello, hello. IGP and everyone. Love from Serbia. From Bob. We nicknamed her Bob because everybody was having a hard time saying her name because she was just in the training that I did. Red Rose for you. Sonia, while healing trauma, I feel I need to be present with my body. But even if I wanted to, I have a hard time right now observing myself from my I am presence, yet trying to be loving to my nervous system. Very good. Yes. It's okay if we have a hard time observing ourselves. We have been trained from birth to ignore ourselves, our bodies, and conform to the culture. So when we finally begin to recognize how destructive that is and turn our attention inwards, there's going to be a lot of resistance to it. It's okay. Right? It's okay. Just get back to the I am place, right, as best you can. And if you can't get there, just allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling. And then the mind will say, you're having a hard time doing this. You're really not doing it right. Don't pay any attention to that. You can't do this wrong. You cannot screw this up. If you are simply willing to be present, you've already passed, you're already above the 500 mark. You're already on the downward slope. Right? Just the willingness, right, to entertain the ideas that we're discussing here and that we've discussed personally, Sonia, just the willingness to receive them into your heart is more than most people have ever experienced. Then the mind say, yeah, you're not doing it as good. You're not as good as G. You're not as good as Jesus, right? The mind will do stuff like that. I used to beat myself up because I wasn't as good a composer as Beethoven. It's like, okay, you're not as good as God. All right. So it was demeaning, right? Oh, my work is crap, right? Because it's not the Ninth Symphony. It's like, oh my. Eventually, I just saw the absurdity of that, and you just write it. Just do it. Just what you are, what you have, what you're working on. Just the very fact that you are drawn to satsang, that you make the inquiry, that you're attempting to be present with your feelings. You're desiring to observe everything from the point of view of the I am. That will take you there. Right? It is the force of grace, the power of grace that brought you to that place where you even happen. It's not like we earned it, or we succeeded, or we passed the test, right? None of that's real. Okay? Grace brought you here. And as Rumi said, the power that brought me here must bring me home. So you are doing it right. You're right on schedule. Everything is perfectly in order. There are no flaws. Checking in. Yep, no flaws. You're absolutely perfect. Thank you, Sonia. Jay, nice coat, G. Thank you. Glad you guys like the coat. I've even got some new stuff that I don't normally buy. Linda, hello, Linda. Hi, G. Looking forward to the retreat next week. Though I thought I was supposed to be letting go after the IRET course. You're letting go of everything except me. I'm going to take the sign off the screen right now for a little bit. I get annoyed with it down there, but I do, I should answer that with a little bit more clarity. I don't tell people never take another class, never go to another teacher. Oh God, I wouldn't do that. Never listen to another video. What I try to convey in what I teach is to become sensitive to whether or not you're simply distracting yourself, right, by going to yet another teacher, yet another event, or reading another book, or if it is genuinely contributing to your awakening. Right? Everything I do, I try to make it something that genuinely contributes to your awakening. I don't teach philosophy. I don't teach religion. I don't teach any ideology. I really don't teach anything except the self-awareness. Yes, I've taught techniques, different things you can do, but the emphasis is always the same, right? Total unconditional love and self-acceptance, and the wisdom that recognizes you for who you really are. I still watch videos of my own teacher, Muji, and sometimes I can feel myself not wanting to be with something that's uncomfortable. And I'm going to find something on YouTube. I go, time out. I don't need that. And over the years, the number of things I've done has fallen away. The books I've read have fallen away. For a while, I didn't read any books at all. And recently, I've been reading the Ribu Gita, the Avadut Gita, and the Avashakra Gita, all very old text, all strictly non-dual, and really enjoying them quite a bit. Even Muji, I learned about the Avadut Gita from him. He likes to read that. So it's not you're just cutting everything out. You want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The whole point of this is self-awareness, self-knowledge, and not using spirituality as an end run, but using it as the deep probing that it is. And becoming completely and totally self-reliant. And that's what it's about. So it's not like it's not like, never do another course again. You don't need it. Any of that stuff. And I've heard teachers say that, right? And I find it irresponsible. Um, know thyself, and in that knowing, you'll be able to discern what you need and what you don't. And I find, especially early on, we need a lot of exposure to somebody guiding you through the inquiry, because we've got an enormous amount of momentum of false identification, right? That can very easily come in and cloud us. Sometimes like a tsunami, sometimes very, very subtle. And we can find ourselves back in the habit energy of being someone we're not. Um, and so getting the right kind of guidance and help from somebody is actually essential, right? And you just becoming aware of, when is it time for me to just really do this for myself, sit here and do the inquiry, and when is it time to get some help? And you're already, your wisdom is already grown by leaps and bounds. So you're going to know. Hemang, gee, I've heard a lot about Qigong meditation. Was thinking of giving it a try myself, but can't find any good description of how you do it online. Any info on this? Otherwise, how would you describe objectively the best meditation techniques for a beginner? I am not personally, I know that Qigong has a meditation style. I don't know that style. I've not really practiced much. A little bit of Qigong. It feels great, but never got far enough into it to learn the meditation. So I couldn't comment on it. The meditation, there are a lot of different schools of meditation, a lot of different ideas about it. In the non-dual school of meditation, what I teach, it is not, there is no object. It is meditation without an object. It has no goal, right? The goal is not a quiet mind or relieve stress or better, health or manifesting something, which a lot of the different ways meditation has been put to. It is not about increasing concentration. The meditation, non-dual meditation, is simply being present with yourself as you are, with no agenda. Right? That is, it is just sitting. I am just being present, and I am learning to watch what's happening without engaging. I am learning to watch experience pass by without becoming wrapped up in it. Watch the mind without trying to stop it, right? Without trying to change the content, and without getting drawn in to the storyline, to the narrative. Then you're just, all you're doing is being the witness. So this is not a meditation that accomplishes something. From the moment you start, you do it, you are already the one, the self, the Buddha. And so now it is literally the Buddha meditating. Because otherwise it's just a thought, right? Otherwise, I am someone meditating. That's a thought, isn't it? So you withdraw even from that thought, and you're just present. You're simply aware of being aware and everything that's going by, and you have no agenda whatsoever. Now, as a beginner, you may find that a little bit tough to do, right? Because we're so used to going with the flow of thought. We're so used to being identified with thinking that it can get quite chaotic. So in circumstances like that, I will have people start by simply being aware of their breath, right? So when you close your eyes, you've already cut out an enormous amount, 80% of the information that we normally rely on. So just closing the eyes, your attention will want to go somewhere, right? When you close your eyes in meditation, the mind tends to become more active because attention is trying to glom onto something. So you bring the attention to simply the body. starting by just with breathing, slowing it down, deepening it. And you'll find that just consciously slowing your breath down has a calming effect on the body and, to a lesser degree, on the mind. And then you simply expand it so that you just start feeling the body. You stop trying to control the speed of the breath. You let go of that and you just start feeling your body. With the emphasis on the kinesthetic sense. Right? Not the thoughts about the body, but the actual feeling of the body. This is getting you out of the mind and into the presence, into the now, into what's actually present now. And you can scan the body. You can start at your feet and just kind of feel all the way up and down. That's what Vipassana does. But the important thing is that when you're feeling, you'll notice how the mind wants to narrate. If I'm feeling my knee, the mind will say, knee, show you a picture of your knee. Right? And want to drag you into, oh, nice knees, or your knees are kind of fat, or the mind, and it's all of its judgments. Say, thank you, I don't need you right now. And learn to feel. And as that develops, you'll find, and it happens very quickly, that just sitting for a moment and closing your eyes, your mind will immediately begin to start getting a little quieter. Your attention will very quickly come into the feeling of the presence of the body. And then gradually, you can begin to move back even further, to become aware of yourself watching the body. But notice, in the meditation, there's no objective. I'm not trying to change thought. I'm not trying to judge what I'm feeling. If there's an uncomfortable feeling, I just notice it. I don't even put the word uncomfortable on it. I don't try to diagnose it. I don't try to change it in the slightest. I have no agenda. And as you do that, you'll find the most remarkable things begin to happen. To me, that is the ultimate form of meditation. It is basically objectless. It is formless. It is simple presence. It is being aware of being aware. And that opens the door for the deep inquiry into well, who am I? Who is it? What am I that is aware? If I'm not what I'm aware of, what am I? And again, notice that's not an attempt to change anything, right? It's an attempt it's a deep desire for self-realization. So that's what I recommend for meditation. Thank you, Himank. Patricia says, magical thinking. If I worry now about what might happen later, it will prevent it from happening. Not so. His path to more freedom. Yes. Yes. If I worry now about what might happen later, it will prevent it from happening. That's the one view. And then the other view of that same thing is, oh, if I worry about it, what might happen later, it's going to happen. Same mind, two completely different ideas. You have the more psychological crowd over here that I can prevent it, more materialistic approach. And then we have the law of attraction that says, if I'm thinking about it, I'm going to manifest it, right? And this side says, fear and I can avoid it, right? Fear and I'm going to make it happen, right? They're both wrong. Neither one is true. Go to the now. What's happening right now? If your attention is in the now, you find that the only thing wrong with right now is when you compare it to some other time. If you don't compare right now to anything else, is there anything wrong? Right now becomes perfect, just as it is. Great stuff, GP. Just beware like Bugs Bunny. Yes. And less like a prepper. Yes, indeed. There was all my love and gratitude to you too, Roberta. Yes, there was a story of two temples. One was a Zen temple, one was a traditional Buddhist temple. And In the traditional Buddhist temple, they had you can't talk to a woman. You have to obey these practices. Very, very strict. You have to think in a certain way, act in a certain way. And they were told that, those Zen guys, they're weird. They're really strange. They're not good for you. All the young monks were told, don't talk to them, right? Just don't talk. Just don't do it. Well, one of those monks was on his way to the market one day and saw one of the monks from the Zen temple. He's young, right? Impetuous, doesn't, he wants to know, so he says, "Hey, where are you going?" And the young Zen monk answers, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm always just here. Nothing is anywhere. There's no place to go to. Everything is right here. There's nothing to do and no one to be." Well, the traditional monk, he freaks out, right? He gets away as fast as he can. Well, he goes back to the temple and confesses his sin to his superior and says, "See, now you know why you shouldn't be talking to these guys." He says, "But we're going to do something, right? I want you to prepare this. I want you to study it so you know it by heart. So that, and next time you see him, I want you to ask him that question again. And when he comes back with his answer, you'll be ready. You're going to lay down all the reasons why he's wrong." Oh, the young monk, he was, okay, all right, this is good. I'm prepared. He walking down the path, and yep, there he was, the other Zen monk. He goes, "Okay, I'm ready." He goes, "Hey, you guys, where are you headed?" And the other monk says, "To the market. Where are you going?" You can't prepare for life. You cannot prepare for life. Stop trying. What did John Lennon said? Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Let life be a surprise. Because it's going to be anyway. Elaine. Hello, Elaine. Hi, GP and everyone. Greetings from Germany. Discovered you a few weeks ago, and now you're a daily part of my life. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. It is such an honor to be able to give expression to truth. It's not my truth. I didn't make it up. I don't own it. I don't have a corner on the market. But and that's really what joy. You're really being drawn to truth. Yeah, some people like the way I express it more than the way somebody else express it. But the bottom line is, you're drawn to the truth. And in the future, some other teacher may resonate with you more. And that will also be your truth, right? Because your truth is feeding you. Your truth is escorting you, right? Gently right to the gates of heaven, the gates of nirvana. It's wonderful. Lily, Oracle, I was going to say I had the opposite problem as far as identifying with the body. I felt that I'm really just an energy blob and not really the body people see me as. Does anyone relate? It's not a problem. I'm not sure why it's the opposite problem, unless it makes you feel ungrounded, because the body has its role, right? Without the body, there's no mode of experience. You cannot experience except through the body. What the body really is a focal point of perception for infinite consciousness. And when it makes the focal point of perception, the universe comes into existence from that point of view. And so what is represented by the body and what appears to be an individualized consciousness is the infinite consciousness looking at itself from a particular point of view. And you can't look at things from a bunch of different points of view simultaneously. They disappear. Imagine looking at something from all points of view simultaneously. There'd be nothing there. So the self, consciousness, knows itself, sees itself from a particular point of view. That point of view, that point of reference, is what is called my human life. So that makes the body a point of view of consciousness, which makes it very important because that's how the universe comes into existence. That's how the self experiences the self. But you are the self. You are not. You're not even an energy blob, because the energy blob would have an outline, right? Yeah, kind of formless, like a cloud, right? Right? Or ooze, right? Or like water, shape water, but it still has a definition. Consciousness is not an energy blob. There are no real energy blobs. Consciousness has no boundaries whatsoever. So you're neither a blob nor a form. You are the formless being that animates everything, your entire experience. So you're not the body that people see, and people only see their own perspective. You are the self being perceived by another point of view. But all points of view report back to the same self. Thank you, Lily. Oh, hello, Sarah. Hope everyone is well. Yes, we are. An hour and a half already? Oh, good Lord. Jay, I think I asked you about this in the past, but you might be familiar with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's a section in the first chapter about proactivity, where Stephen Covey talks about the space between stimulus and response. He talks about imagination, self-awareness, consciousness, and independent will. I feel that model is close to the truth, but not necessarily the truth. Yes, it is a recognition. A lot of the self-help, personal development stuff, especially the good stuff, and I know a lot of these guys. I didn't get a chance to meet Steve Covey. I joined an organization. As part of the organization he was also a part of. But he had passed on shortly before I got there. But the real thinkers in it have recognized this gap, right? The stimulus and response thing. They've recognized conditioning, right? And recognized that in that recognition, that while we're unconscious, the stimulus and the response is instantaneous, and we have no control over it. That when you recognize that they are actually 2 separate things, then you can intrude yourself into it and create a different response to the stimulus. This is personal development, psychology is all about. The non-dual approach recognizes that as well, and needs to. I mean, my spiritual growth was hindered because I didn't recognize this. I was just in the absolute, right? So I didn't recognize that this was going on. But what it adds to it is that this whole response mechanism, while you are changing behaviors, it isn't you. To the psychological, this is you, right? It has not yet recognized that the consciousness that sees the stimulus response is not enmeshed with it, is not stuck with it, is not one with it. Right? That is yet to be seen more generally. It will be. It's not too long. David and Elaine signed up for the retreat. Yay! I'm so looking forward to seeing you guys. How many hours of satsang each day during the retreat? Well, the guarantee is 90 minutes. Anyone knows that's not very long for me. That's like already what's taken place. So 2 hours. I want to go longer. I acknowledge, and I will if anybody wants to stay longer. But the commitment is 2 hours basically, and it will be at 10 o'clock my time, which is 1 o'clock in the East Coast, which makes it then 4 hours, 5 o'clock in the afternoon for Western Europe and moving across. for Friday and Saturday, but your time changes on Sunday, so then it will be back. It will be 6 o'clock on Sunday for you guys in Europe. So the time thing. Between stimulus and response, there is space, and that space is our power to choose our response, and our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. Yes. And then spirituality asks the question, well, who is it that's making the choices? Right? Because even the choosing itself is a subtle form of the stimulus and response. It goes so deep. Mary Sykes, how does addiction to medications affect consciousness? Wow. Ultimately, it affects the state of mind. It does not affect consciousness. And you can tell that. I'm not saying it doesn't affect stuff. It affects thinking, it affects motors, all sorts of things, okay? I'm not denying that. But what I'm trying to draw attention to is that there is something aware of the effect that it's having, and that awareness has not been affected by it. That awareness is consciousness. I'm trying to draw your attention to that which witnesses everything else and is not in the slightest actually controlled or even influenced by what is being seen. If something is being influenced by what is being seen, that thing is actually also being seen. The influencing and what is being influenced are both being perceived. Consciousness is the imperceivable background. If I can perceive it, it can't be me. So yes, it can make the mind overactive, or it can quiet the mind down. It can stimulate the body in ways, and it can relax the body in ways. All of that happens. Right? But the essence of satsang is the bringing of the attention to that which is aware that it is happening. The awareness in which it is appearing, right? Which is completely and totally unaffected by absolutely everything that it experiences. It also has no preference for what it experiences. It has no vested interest in what is experienced. The interest is also just part of the conditioned mechanism that is reacting to what is being seen. Okay? The emphasis here is on the actual seeing itself, because that is consciousness. The effects of these things are not seeing themselves. Thoughts do not see themselves. Emotions do not feel themselves. Sensations do not feel themselves. Right? Something else is. Right? So all of these are empty of self. They are simply appearances, ripples, waves on the ocean. Something has to be there to perceive them. That something is not a thing at all. It is an imperceivable essence. But is that not you? Is it not you that is perceiving all of those? Not the you think you are, but the actual point of cognition. Are you not there? What satsang is, what self-inquiry is the disidentification with content, with what is being experienced, and an increasing awareness of the absolute emptiness of the experiencer. That you are not on that side of the lens, duking it out with what's going on here. You're back here watching the entire thing. You're simply watching it happen. That is your true identity. It's that close to you, and it's that simple. There's nothing. This isn't Red Seas parting and angels singing. Right? It's very ordinary. It's like, oh, I've always been simply being aware. I just took the consciousness I've always been And I imagined it to be something I'm aware of. In other words, this person. I am this body. I am, and therefore I am GP, and I am all the things that GP has, and GP's age, and his height, his weight, all of these things. And the entire time you have been nothing but consciousness. That which is aware of me right now is not the person. The person is made up of attributes. It's made up of just functioning. And what is functioning? Well, it's consciousness functioning. It's consciousness knowing itself, vibrating itself. But at the center of consciousness is this pure awareness, the absolute. That is what you are. It is what sees everything. It is what is hearing my words right now. What is hearing my words right now is not the person you think you are. It is the Godhead itself. It is the I am. It is Shiva being. It is the Buddha. It is the Christ. That is who is hearing my words. Right there, that seems to be perched in your body, seeing through those eyes, hearing through those ears. That which is actually doing the hearing is the Godhead. GP said, thank you to Murkoff. Elaborate on that quote. I think I did. I'm running out of time too, and I still got a lot of questions here. Suffice it to say, in terms of the stimulus and response, it is a growing consciousness of humanity that recognizes what before was just automatic. We didn't even realize that it was a process that existed, and that the response was a cultural programming and not an absolute truth. And it was a flowering of consciousness that made us even aware that that was happening, right? Which then put us into a new realm of volition and proactivity, where I could decide that this response isn't doing any good. I'm going to change it. And we change our habits, and he has his 7 habits, right? That he was inviting people into taking on as new habits for themselves. But that power of discrimination that can tell the difference between a good and a bad, can continue to move inward. So my life isn't about just making better responses to the stimulus. My life is about knowing who I am, that is beyond all stimulus and response. So, love. The infinity of mind, separate selves will never vanish. Round and round we go, infinitely going. The separate selves never existed. They're just an image in the mind. So they never vanish because they never happened in the first place. They're just a concept. As a concept, they can be there. Who cares? Like a cartoon character. You know, everybody knows who Bugs Bunny is. We can talk about him, or Darth Vader, or any fictitious characters, as if they were actually real. There's nobody there. There's no sentience. There's no nothing. There is no separate self. It is just an idea. You are not a separate self. You never have been. You aren't stuck with a separate self. You're not a person that has to somehow get them way back to consciousness. The person never existed. They're a cartoon character. Arguing with your person, it's like arguing with Bugs Bunny. Can't win anyway. He's too clever. He's one of the cool characters. Vancouver here. Amy is in Facebook. Hey, Amy. Good to see you. Michael. Enlightenment is an accident. Thought there were no mistakes, and awakening happens when grace decides. Confused here. I just used that expression. To say it's an accident. It means that the awakening, enlightenment, is not something you do. It's not the result of a process. It's not the result that, okay, I did everything I'm supposed to do, now I get enlightened. I've said my 1008 mantras, I've done my japa, or I've done 30 years of meditation, I've attained nirakopa samadhi. It's none of that. Right? It is not the result of any process. It can't be. If it was the result of a process, it would mean it had a beginning, which would mean it would also have an end. Something caused it. Right? if it's truth, it's causeless. It just exists. It just is. It has no beginning. It can't. If it has no beginning, it has an end. And that before it, it was not. So what we are awakening to has no cause. You are awakening to the you you've always been. Even that which awakens is seen to be part of the dream. And the one who awakens disappears with the awakening. So I use that term as a figure of speech. It's an accident. Right? It is a non-event. It's a non-happening. It has no cause. You can't make it happen. Right? Even the act of meditating and seeking, you didn't choose. Right? The awakening itself, which is simply a theme that plays out across the entire universe, that's the only theme life has ever been. From the Big Bang to now, has simply been awakening, the theme of awakening playing itself out in this one instance among an infinite possible number of instances. So it is simply, it is a matter of grace. But grace is nothing more than our experience of the realization or revelation of truth. Right? Grace and truth are one and the same. You are the awakened one, which is what the Buddha means. That's what the word Buddha means. It's Sanskrit for the awakened one. And you are that. The notion, the belief that you are someone else who was asleep falls away. This is the grace of it. And so, yes, it's only a manner, an expression I use, a humorous expression. Basically, just so I can tell that joke. I can make you more accident prone. You really can't, right? There's a seeing through the illusion. But the one seeing through the illusion was never eluded in the first place. So, confusion ended, Michael? Sabugo Masiria. May I ask a question? Glad if you could help me with this one. Yes. Hello, Marty. Good to see you. By realizing that removing all that is not essential to me, the only substance that remains is pure knowing, can I safely say that what I am is pure knowing being? In other words, consciousness? Is that what you mean by saying knowing is being? Yes, that's exactly it. When you remove everything, all you have is the pure knowing itself. Right? Not even a knower. Right? There's not anything even knowing. It's not an attribute. There's just the knowingness. Well, that's your existence. That is being. Because you are you not? And you know that you are. They're not two. So yes, that is absolutely true, Sabugo. Perfect. Perfect. There's Robert in Romania. Hello, Robert. So if a certain type of thinking, this is Merck, is actually causing us almost all of our perceived problems, then how do we live peacefully with something like chronic pain? Just skipped ahead on me. Sorry, Merck. I'll be back in a second. Oh, there we go. Or similar things where the root of uncomfortableness is really caused by thinking, although it can, of course, aggravate the situation a lot if it runs rampant and is believed in. What I was saying before about all illness and problems are of the mind. Again, I'm not promoting it as like a medical diagnosis. It is all of our problems, not almost all of our perceived, but it is all of our problems. The process or the practice is cutting through our own perceptions to see what's actually here. Now, I don't like to plant in people's ideas that this is what's actually here, right? because then the mind grabs on that and tries to make it. I say, find what's really here. How do you do that? Well, you eliminate what isn't. Right? The first practice, bodhisattva practice, which is an advanced practice that Buddha gave to the bodhisattvas, right, to get them to the stage of Buddhahood. The very first one of them is becoming adept at discerning the perceptions of your own mind. So when I say the mind causes all problems, if there's no mind, any experience you're having, I don't care what it is, right? And I'm not saying we don't experience pain, we don't experience loss, we don't experience fear, we don't experience these things. I'm not saying that, right? But if the experience is there and your mind never says, this is a problem, is it a problem? If that thought never occurs to you, is it a problem? You know, your dog gets hurt. It doesn't think it's a problem. It's just an experience. There's no extra overhead. There's no psychological thing going on. The dog doesn't then try to prepare to avoid the problem or take some other class or something like that. For the dog, there's no such thing as a problem. There's only experience. So the problem only happens because the mind has interpreted as a problem. When the mind interprets something as a problem, it means, this shouldn't be happening, something else should be happening, and in that gap right there is the suffering. Resistance is there. You are now in conflict with what is. Not only that, you are projecting all sorts of things onto what is that it doesn't actually possess. This is bad, it shouldn't be happening. I don't like it. Oh, that always happens. This is nuts. How do we get rid of this? All of that's mind. None of that's in the actual experience itself, is it? That's what I mean by that. A problem is an interpretation of experience that the mind has designated, right? We have conditioned to designate that this shouldn't be happening, something else is supposed to be happening, therefore this is a problem. But the fact is, it is happening. If you put aside that, you discern that that is just a perception of your mind and is being projected on this moment, then you see without mind, there is no problem. There's pure experience. There can be pain, but there is no suffering. There can be grief, there's no suffering. Right? The suffering is always the mind's resistance. So hopefully that answers it for you. Amy, I'm not a body, I am free. Great listening to you. Very good. No, you're not. Isn't it wonderful? Effie, hi GP, thank you, from Istanbul. Good to see you. Got another Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Coco, namaste. Lily, how useful are why questions? Existentially, in the inquiry as to who am I really, very little. Now, in the outgoing, the tantric path, they can be very, very useful. Why do I think that? Why is it that I believe that? Is that really true? It can be therapeutically valuable. It can help with the integration of understanding. It can also be a genuine way of becoming curious about your own inner world. Why is this happening? Oftentimes we ask why something is happening because we don't like it and we want to change it. That's a very aggressive form of it. It's not really wanting to know. What it's really wanting to do is get rid of it. But the why that's really a genuine, open-hearted, why is this happening? Why do these things continue to happen in my life? But with an openness that is open to hearing a fresh inspiration, a fresh answer, a perception-shifting answer, that's very useful. In the question of who am I, that they're not really useful. And in fact, when that question of who am I is answered, all the whys become clear. You now see everything is simply a result of the conditioning. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. All of it happened because that was simply the way the energy was going, right? And none of it is me. And now the why is no longer about changing it or fixing it. It's fine. There's nothing to change or fix, right? You don't even really need to know why anymore. You have the why, right? You are the answer to all questions. You are the answer to all questions. Ah, there's Faith saying, I love you, my sheik. I love you too, Faith. I'm also waiting for retreat. I've already registered. Very good. They'll be happy. They get a little nervous. They're not used to online retreats there at the Krishnamurti Center. They were always live. And so there's only 3 people signed up. I said, it's 2 months beforehand. Don't worry about it. This is the internet. People don't sign up till the last day. Let me put that back up again because it is important. It's a great retreat. And this is how I make my living. This is how I keep being able to do free satsang. I know what you mean, says Jill. I used to think if I can't sing as well as Celine Dion, then why bother? Turns out I can imitate her pretty well. Yes, I was so judgmental of myself. At 19 years old, I really thought I was over the hill. I mean, I think back of it now, it was just sad. It was sad, but it was at that same time that the first dramatic awakening took place. And it's because of that time that I'm sitting here right now. Grimace says, hi. Catch me later. There's Jonas. Love, love, love. Thanks for being here. You're welcome. Steffi. Hello, Steffi. Namaskaramji. In fights with my boyfriend, for instance, I often witness myself saying something stupid even before I say or do something I would regret afterwards, but then say or do it anyways. I see. Oops, sorry, Stephanie. I didn't mean to do that. I see, there we go, that I have the chance to do the right thing, but unfortunately I don't act accordingly. Then I'm angry about myself. Do you have any advice for me what to do about that? Thank you. I do, and this really dovetails nice with what Merck pointed out and Jay about that stimulus and response. Just becoming aware. Remember, you've practiced well. You have rehearsed well these behaviors that it becomes so ingrained that the stimulus and response is instantaneous. It just happens. You know, your boyfriend does something, it triggers you, boom, you're off, right? You're off to the races. And in the beginning, when you begin to realize that this is happening, right? Well, in the very beginning, you don't realize that it is a stimulus, it's just me. You don't realize there's a mechanism in there that you could have conscious control over. We just don't know it. So this is what I do, right? You just react. There's no consciousness whatsoever. Okay, consciousness begins to develop. And now you realize, whoa, this behavior is very unhealthy. It's not serving me. It's not serving our relationship. It is getting in the way. Then what happens is you find that even though you're aware of it, you don't have any power to change it. Consciousness has not gotten its power yet, right? It hasn't gotten its charge quite yet, right? So it starts with simply being aware of it and then recognizing that it has happened. Right? Now, there's the stimulus and the response. Your boyfriend does something or says something and you react in a particular way, right? Then you realize that you've done that, right? And that realization is a stimulus for another response, and that is get angry with yourself. It's the same mechanism, right? It's just more subtle, right? There's the layers of that. It's kind of like all of a sudden now we pop into the spiritual programming. I'm not supposed to get angry, right? I'm not supposed to do that. So now we have a different kind of programming. It says, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I did it again. That also is conditioning. Now take another step back and look at that. Oh, wow. Right. So the mind's got me going, saying that, and then saying, that was stupid. Why did you say that? It's the same mind. It's the same mechanism, right? Hopefully this brings a smile to your face because, oh my God, yes, it's just much more subtle. You're becoming more refined and more nuanced. And as you are doing that, you're gaining more power. And eventually, if you keep moving further back and see all of it as part of that routine, him, the reaction, your reaction to his reaction, your reaction, then your reaction to your reaction to your reaction. You see this cascading thing. You can just put a big smile on your face and go, I see you, I get it, right? None of it is really you. And the more you see it, the more you'll be able to, the place at which the seeing happens that actually intervenes and stops the cascade will get closer and closer and closer to that first event until finally that connection is broke completely, that response is gone, and what it is replaced with is not another program response that you've chosen, which is the self-help way, but it will be replaced by you, by the real you, by your own natural response. And it will be a response. It will not be a reaction. It will be a presence of consciousness, which may end up being no response whatsoever. Or it may be one, but it will be wise. It will be coming from the real you. Right? This is the important part to get. It will be coming from the real you. This is the difference, just to go back to that other conversation. This is the difference between simply seeing it as the stimulus response and then psychologically creating a different response, which would be the psychological approach, the approach of hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and all of those kinds of things. The existential approach is you don't replace it at all. You don't make up another response. You show up. That's the space in which you and the infinitude of your inner resources and their infinite intelligence and creativity have just the right response at just the right moment. You don't need to create an alternative, right? You are now present, and that presence is all the power there is. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Steffi. Beautiful. Robert Hill. What are intrusive thoughts? Why do they arise? Before I didn't have them. They can really be dark. Habits, nothing more. And as you're on the path of awakening, you're going to find a lot of nasty shit down there, right? It's going to start coming to the surface, and you're going to, oh, God, what a horrible thought. You know, as I like to say, the awakening, right? Enlightenment, the turning on of a light. Turn on a light in an old room that you haven't been in 20 years, and you're not going to like what you see, are you? It's not going to be neat and pretty and beautiful. It's going to be dark and dusty and rats running around and it smells, right? But you've just turned on the light. You got to. Oh, close the door and run away. No, there's dark, nasty stuff can come up. It's okay. Just smile at it. Recognize it for what it is. It could be anger you were never allowed to express. It could be all sorts of things, right? It's not important what it actually is. Important is that, okay. And they're going to feel intrusive, right? Because they're vying for attention, right? And there actually some of them come up that need some loving attention, right? There can be unhealed traumas and the like that manifest as negative thoughts or as nasty thoughts or as angry thoughts and things like that. But here's the deal. With the open heart of allowing, there's no such thing as an intruder because everything's welcome. The doors are open. If I say it's an intruder, notice you're creating a relationship with it that says, I don't want you here. You've created now a conflict with it, right? And that's what you're feeling as an intrusion. Dude, it's just you, right? If you turn it into something you got to get rid of, you've literally created a monster. And now you're fighting, you're duking it out with a ghost that you created. So if there's just, oh, allow whatever thought comes, come, there's not an intruder anymore, is it? Is it? There are no intruding thoughts. There are only thoughts. And then you decide that it's an intruder, which, by the way, is just another thought, isn't it? There aren't any intruding thoughts. There are only thoughts coming up. Okay. Right? You will determine, are they an intruder or are they just a thought? You're the one determining the relationship with it. Right? Isn't that amazing? It's powerful, isn't it? Right? You can decide whether this moment is absolutely perfect and blissful or if it's a problem that has to be solved. It's up to you. It's all how you perceive it. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Yeah, Sailor Bob. The mind struggles a lot with that one. Yes, because the mind has no place there. Right? If there's no problem, there's no mind. That's all it does is solve problems. So it wants to create them. It doesn't like the idea that there's no problem, but it will eventually let go of its habits of creating problems and just go into quietude. You don't need it. The mind struggles, but you can feel in your heart it's true. If you don't think about it, if there's no comparison or judgment, there's nothing wrong ever. This is nirvana. This is heaven. Ah, Linda. Oh, hearts to you, Linda. Johanna in Mexico. Good to see you. Ditesh Home, AGP. Hey, sir. I think it's sir. Lisa, cute story. Oh, boy, am I just getting down to where I told the story about the young monks. It's all about perspective. Yes, it is. That's all there is. Right? Nothing is real. It is all perception. Lisa Marie, thank you for so much for that perspective. Yes, blob. It's not quite the word. It's truly ineffable. That is the word. Yes. Ditesh Home. How can I find true purpose with chronic illness and have difficulties accepting that I cannot participate in the capitalist system? Thank you, GP. Your purpose, well, you find a purpose that is not in service to anything other than you. Yes, there are some conditions we have that make it impossible for us to function in certain ways. We live in a society. Capitalism, by the way, is institutionalized greed, right? It is an extension. It started out with lords and serfs. It then moved into masters and slaves, and now it is capitalists and employees. A little bit more sophisticated, but it is still the same model. It is a tyrannical model. Those who own completely control tyrannically, authoritarianism, everything that happens within that company, and then by extension because of power in politics. So capitalism is a sick system. It is based on greed. It destroys quality, and it needs to be thrown on the scrap heap as soon as possible. But it is the dominant system, and so what it has done, it has turned everyone into not an individual. You have no individual inherent. You have no inherent value. Your value is what you can do for me. So your value becomes a marketable skill. If you've got some kind of condition that limits the skills you have to market, well, you're not going to be able to reap all of the imaginary fruits that the system holds out as being important, none of which are actually important. Nothing can stop you from discovering who you are. And in that discovery, you'll find that the chronic pain will be less and less significant, less and less chronic illness, influential, and have less and less control over your life. It may stay there. It may go away completely. I can't predict. but its impact will become minimized. Okay? So your purpose is to discover who you are. That's the only purpose you have. Our economic system, our political system says your purpose is to serve the system, right? Is to be a good, responsible, functioning, contributing member of society. That means make money and spend it on stuff. That's what it means to be a part of this. That's not your purpose. It's a function you have to do. We all have to do it. You know, I have to sell tickets to my retreat. So I have to make these kinds of concessions. That's not my purpose. I'm not here to sell tickets. Right? There's things I could sell tickets to make a whole lot more money than that, right? I'm here to show you what your purpose is. And you have only one reason for being born as a human, and that is to discover who you actually are. That is why you are here. Period. End of story. There is no other reason for your existence. And nothing can keep that from happening. Okay? Yes, certain conditions in us tend to grab a lot of our attention. Right? And it can take a lot of discipline to establish some distance between a condition that's occurring and the consciousness that is aware of that condition. Right? But there's a belief that says, in order for me to truly meditate, I have to get rid of this. That's not true. Even Buddha would recommend if there was something there that you simply couldn't get rid of, make that the focus of meditation. Completely be present with it. Right? No stories. Right? This is key. You're completely present with the experience directly, as an experience, as sensation. Right? Even the word chronic illness, set it aside. It actually anticipates it perpetuating into the future. All it is an experience, a set of sensations in the body that you are having right now. Take away all the narrative, the diagnoses, all the predictions, the prescriptions, the proscriptions, everything about it. Get completely out of the mind, and let that be. There be nothing there except what's actually being experienced. This is an implementation of that first bodhisattva practice, becoming adept at discerning the perceptions of your own mind. So you eliminate mind completely, down to pure experience, and watch what happens. Right? In that moment, you are 100% the self. There's not even a thought of you. You are 100% present. You are the self. You are the Buddha. That's the Buddha meditating. So never entertain the idea, ever, that any condition can keep you from knowing who you are. Thank God. Praise grace. Oh, let's see. Effie, although I'm able to feel the peace of consciousness when I'm quiet or while I'm by myself in nature, I find myself anxious sometimes ahead of time, especially in social situations. What do you advise? Don't fight it. Don't fight it. That's number one. When we're in the quiet place, meditation, we're out in nature, remember, there's nothing in the environment that is pushing the buttons in the nervous system. When you're in a social environment or with people at work, anything, and even anticipating going into them, you're now not in that quiet environment of nature, and so the buttons are being pushed. That's all that's happening. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not, I'm not spiritual anymore, I'm doing it wrong. Not at all. It's just a little bit more understanding, right? That, okay, my nervous system was quiet because I was in a quiet meditation, because I was in nature. There was nothing stimulating it. But I want to be in that place of equanimity no matter where I am. I don't want to have to be enslaved to my environment. So the only way I can be quiet is I have to get out in nature, because sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes you're on a crowded subway or something, right? Right. So good. This is how you learn how to do it, right? You're anticipating this event and you're feeling it in your body. Okay, I get it. My body is getting ready to be in a social situation. And of course, especially if it's a social situation that's new, you've never been there before, your body's going to be especially alert, right? It's protecting you. It's going, oh, who do we have to be here? What are we going to do, right? What are we going to watch out for? How am I presenting myself? These things, millions of these things are going through you the whole time. And we just feel this as kind of an anxiousness, right? But in fact, the nervous system is plotting things out. It's making plans. It's making adjustments here. It's taking a posture. It's doing all sorts of things to keep you safe within the social situation. And succeeding at keep you safe, it goes to its secondary mission, which is look for opportunity, right? A mate, a business deal, a networking thing, right? Right? As long as it's safe, okay, now we're here to get something, right? All of that's going on under the surface, and under the surface, and on the surface, you're just kind of feeling this anxiousness, right? I mean, all sorts of stuff is happening down here. So first off, put a smile on your face. Ah, there it is. It's protecting me. It's aware of things that I'm not. But first, you can start with just anticipating you find yourself getting anxious. First, just go, all right, there's this feeling of anxiousness. Thank you. I know you're wanting to take care of me. Right? And then bring your attention to right now. We're not there yet. We're right here, right now. What's happening now? Now, the reason it gets anxious is because the mind is trying to prepare, right? The mind can't possibly prepare enough. The nervous system can do it. It doesn't need the mind's help. So you just bring your attention back to this moment. And then when you're in the circumstance, when you're there, right, you just, I call it undivided attention. It's part of the Just Allow. It's the second section of the Just Allow It course. Where we're learning how to be aware of our feelings and accepting, allowing our feelings, and aware of what's going on in the environment around us simultaneously. In the beginning, initially, the training is to just withdraw from the environment so you can simply just be with your own feelings. But then eventually, you have to bring the environment in, right? So, because if you don't, just because something hasn't been triggered doesn't mean it isn't still there. You can't, I've overcome that. No, it only means that button hasn't been pushed yet. That's all, right? And a lot of people, they want to stay in their comfort zone. They want to stay in this safe place and not get the buttons pushed, right? But the result, of course, is that you don't grow, right? You don't go to the social situation. You don't meet your mate. You don't get the job opportunity. You don't get the business deal. You don't get any of the fruits, any of the rewards, right? For being there. So we don't want to stay in that place. So you're to be there and be completely aware of what's happening out here, and there's a body awareness going on simultaneously. In the energy of allowing, you're allowing both, and little by little, the unnecessary anxiety or anxiousness will fall away, and you'll just feel that sense of anticipation and excitement, which we should. You'll feel your nervous system, checking out, scoping out the room, right, as to what to do and what not. And you just let it happen, right? It's detecting opportunity and it's detecting danger. It's detecting who's safe in the room and who isn't. It's measuring the character. Is this guy trustworthy or not? And all of this is happening, right? And the more our minds are clear and we're present with the feeling, the more the natural intelligence of the system will just take over. And you'll find yourself just so present and responsive that you'll be the one in the room everybody's seeking out. We're going to have to speed up a little bit. Much love from John. Much love to you. Hello from Canada. Hi, Lisa. Watching EWN, but not sure if comments come through. They're supposed to. If not, we'll have to test that out, and I'll get with StreamYard. Patricia, you may not own the truth, G, but you sure know how to express it beautifully and perfectly. Balm to the soul and ears, and all the parts. You're a soul whisperer. Thank you. So, signed up for the retreat. I just say what comes to my mind. That really is all I'm doing. That's funny. You're a great teacher, G. To me, it doesn't seem, it doesn't seem appropriate for somebody who just says whatever comes to their mind to call them a teacher. Okay. Hello, Alessandra. Good to see you. Mary, thank you. Welcome, Jay. Thank you, G. I had a good feeling what your answer was going to be. I know you do, Jay, because you already know all the answers. Sorry for the mind's habitual need to ask questions. It's okay. Suffering is the mind's resistance. Yes, that's all there is to it. Clara, hello. Or no, Ciara. Hi, GP. If you had been trying to manifest desire in your life for quite some time and you did not yet achieved it, what would you do? Let go of the desire. Let go. You're just creating suffering for yourself. Whatever it is you're desiring is actually already here. Find it in yourself. What is the quality, the essence, the experience, the feeling that thing was going to bring you? Right? Find that feeling. And then you can also use it. I will often use it as a way of helping people reconcile with themselves. It's one of the exercises I do early on is to bring to mind something that you really, really want, something that would be really beneficial in your life, but you've just not been able to get it. It may even be something you have given up on. And my purpose of doing this is not to help to get you to get it, because it's not really the thing you want. It's the sense of well-being and happiness that you really want, which is always inherent. But what's going on is there's a conflict. The manifestation expresses the inner happiness. It doesn't bring it to you. It's exactly the opposite, right? And once it's here, you don't actually care what the form is. But the form is important, just like a particular piece of music is important. It's not as important as music itself. It's the manifestation of the music itself. But I'm digressing. If you hold that picture of what it is you want, and then just feel what's going on in your body, you'll feel a resistance to it, right? Now, normally what people do, they try to get rid of that resistance to hold on doggedly. And what I say is don't do that. Don't, by holding on to your desire, make your inner resistance an enemy. That creates the conflict that keeps it in a stalemate. Because this energy is needed in order for a manifestation to take place. The energy of resistance and the energy of manifestation are the same energy. It just has to switch sides, right? It's very subtle. So what you're doing is you're stepping away. You're letting go of the desire, right? And when I mean letting go, I mean not giving up. It's not resignation. You're stopping pushing for it so hard, and you're just letting it be there, right? If it's a genuine desire that's really bubbling up from the heart of you, you can let go of it, and it won't go anywhere. It'll still be there. You don't have to hold on to it. So you just take your hands off of that, right? And you step back into a place I call the place of the peacemaker. And you let the resistance be there, and you let the desire be there. But you don't take sides. Then the desire is serving now a higher purpose. It's not just about the desire. It's about coming to inner reconciliation. There's something about that your energy system has designated as dangerous and therefore is never going to let it happen. Unless the energy system, the safety mechanism, which is primary, unless it sees that this is truly beneficial and not dangerous, it will not happen. So your job is to reconcile it. This has to come to see it. It's a whole process I go through by getting people to that point. But you can just start with that. You let it be there, and you give it time. Oftentimes, one of the strategies we've used, because it's very painful, right? The unrequited desire is hell. That's what the hellfires represent. I want something and I can't get it. This is the pain of desire. That's why, the burning desire, right? Allow that. What we do then to avoid that pain, the pain of hell, is we just diminish the desire, we push it aside, we try to get rid of it. If it's genuine for us, you're not going to be able to get rid of it. It's just like every other part of you, you know, your hair or your eye color. I mean, it's a part of you. Therefore, it's not artificial. So what we have to do is bring reconciliation to the system. So I have to honor the desire and the feeling of desire, even though I have no idea how I get it, or even if I will get it. It's there. I recognize that it's there. That's simply allowing it to be there without an attachment to it. And then you also allow the resistance to be there. That is, the energy system that says it's not safe for you to have that. And you do not make prefer one over the other. Say, you know what, guys? You work it out. If it really isn't safe for me to have this, then no, I don't want. You're absolutely right. I shouldn't. But if it is, can you guys work out some way to make it happen? Notice the position I've taken. It's very neutral. I'm not vested interest in whether it happens or not. I'm more interested in my own inner peace. And what is the inner energy most likely to manifest as good things in your life? Conflict or peace? Striving, attachment, desperation, or happiness? That can only be found here. Then the manifestation will take care of itself. And it probably won't look anything like what you were hoping for. It'll actually be right. So, it's a quick answer for that. Facebook user, thank you, GP. Love tuning into your show. Everything you say makes sense, and you explain things so simply. Oh, you're welcome. I missed your question, Faith. Oh, where was it? Did you give it to me again? How far back there was it? Faith. Is it down here? No. I'll take a quick view. I actually do have to get something at 2:30 my time, so I've only got 9 minutes left. Oh, Faith. Love you, my sheep. Where are you, Faith? Well, if you can just repeat it really quickly. I am towards the bottom. You missed the show, Mindful Zero. Honestly, I'm feeling really peaceful and full of understanding and compassion today. I know that's a good sign. Yeah. Mine has totally fallen, gone quiet. Pure stillness is witnessing it. Beautiful. Dave, thanks, GP. Another beautiful satsang. Generosity of your time and the purity of your wisdom are deeply held and appreciated. Thank you, guys. Precious GP. Wow, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Yay, Mary, love and gratitude for your G. Thanks for your question, Robert Hill. Faith, what was your question? Are you still here? Oops, maybe she did. There's some new comments down below. Thank you much, GP, for being so sincere. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Love sitting with you all. And to say what's... and this guy who just says what's on his mind. Yep, that's me. I'm just this guy. You know, I remember when I really wanted to be somebody, right? I wanted to be a rock star. That was going to be a big voiceover talent and all of that kind of stuff. Boy, when I realized I was nobody, just a guy, I was like, oh my God, what a relief. What a relief. I don't have to be anybody at all. I'm just a guy. I'm looking through Faith, and I don't know if these... Oh, wait, I think I found our ego trap. Ah, there we go, I found it. I'm still clinging to two desires. Having a partner and moving from here. I knew ego doesn't control anything, yet I couldn't surrender that. I've been crying over that recently. I don't know if these my heart desires or our ego trap. All desires are natural. When they talk about an egoic desire, it's not quite accurate. The desire of the ego is to turn everything towards itself. There's nothing more natural in all of us but to want to live somewhere that really feels like home, hospitable to us, and to have a partner. What could be more natural? So there's nothing egotistical or egoistic about it at all. Right? Cherish those desires. Right? You're crying over it because there's a feeling that you can't have them. Now, I never say there's a guarantee that everything is going to go the way you want it to go, right? But it becomes the opportunity for us to come to a deep place of equanimity. I don't need a partner or a living condition in order to be happy. That's the truth. That does not make them illegitimate. It doesn't make them ego desires. Just don't seek your happiness in them. Right? They are an enhancement to your happiness. They're a manifestation of it. They're an amplification of it. Surely if I'm filled with love, if I have somebody special in my life with which I can share that love, it's great, it's wonderful, right? But the love is real and the love is you, whether there's somebody to share it there or not, somebody very intimate to you. So I never tell anybody, of course you want to have a partner. It's the most human thing in the world. People say, no, I should, what, vow of celibacy? You will not see that on my website. Believe me. Whoops. You'll not see that on my website. So again, be present with it. Don't give it to the mind. Oh, is this the ego? It isn't, right? The ego is only that which says, if you don't get it, you're not going to be happy, right? That is a false thought. There isn't even any ego. The ego doesn't exist, folks. The ego is an interpretation. It is a perception. It's a way of seeing. It's not an entity. There's no such thing. There's only a bunch of thoughts that happen to be moving in a particular way. You are free. Accept your freedom, and it will manifest in your life. Oh, my dear, 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 dear ones, I love you so much, and I do have to go now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I found it. Oh, I did find it. Very good. All right, dear hearts. Thank you for joining me in Satsang. Thank you for being in Satsang. And Satsang is a full-time thing. Whenever you are being present with yourself, allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to simply be aware of you and of what's going on, and desiring to know the reality of you more than anything else, you are in Satsang. So I'll see you all at the retreat. Expect you all to be there. Love you all. Namaste.